invite Vishnu CH, Government Law College Ernakulam, Trivandrum, to present Right to Adequate Housing as a Human Right, a critical analysis of the Life Mission Scheme of Government of Kerala.
Yeah, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Vishnu CH, co-authored with Dr. Meena Kumari, ma'am, Assistant of the Government Law College, Trivandrum, presenting paper title Right to Adequate Housing as a Human Right and a Critical Analysis of the Life Mission Scheme of Government of Kerala. So, the right to adequate housing, which has been considered one of the very basic fundamental human right of the individual, which has been enriched in many of the international conventions, which has been including the Article 25 of the UDHR, and also in International Convention of Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, and also in many other conventions, which may be with respect to refugees, children, women, etc. So even before going to that, even there is a misconception between the right to adequate housing. The right to adequate housing does not oblige that the government are in a position to provide the houses to the entire stock of the country. Rather, it has been including the policy schemes which has been to avoid homeless, prohibiting forced eviction and counter discrimination, and also to ensure that the houses which has been provided by the governmental schemes and policies should be an adequate one which has the ability to meet the basic need for keeping a dignified standard of living. And thus an increased attention which has been globally given the right to adequate housing, which has been mandated or which has been created the Human Rights Council to create a special rapporteurship on the year 2000 for the fully realization of the right to adequate housing. And thus the United Nations has been created the special rapporteurship, and also there has been came and or the visitor to India, and also there are also opinion that there is a need for a human right approach to the right to adequate housing. And we can see that before going to or what you meant by the right to adequate housing, it has been the Committee on the Economic, Cultural, and Social Cultural Rights which provided or which has been pointed out some of the core elements in order to consider a houses to be adequate, which has been including that the minimum standard, which include there should be a legal security of tenure, including the protection against forced eviction and the availability of the essential services and the material facility and the infrastructure, and also the harmony with the financial cost which are related to housing, and be accessible to the most disadvantaged or the marginalized section of the society, and also the location and the cultural adequacy. So the right to adequate housing, we can see that it is not a right which is standing alone or in isolation. It is always interconnected with most of the other basic human rights of the individual. So which has been including the right to physical and mental health, the right to privacy, the right to electricity, water, and also the right for a child to develop in a healthy environment. For in order to enjoy the fruitfulness of all these rights, there should be a need for a right to adequate housing concept. So, thus, adequate housing is a fundamental human right ensuring a dignified human existence in the modern welfare democracy. Even we can see that the India has been ratified most of these major international conventions, but has been failed to give a proper legal recognition to this right. And thus it remains as a non-disputable human right in the developing countries in India due to the lack of strong governmental laws. Even we can see that the government, even we can say that the Indian government has been failed to give a proper legal recognition, but the state and the central government has been enacted major schemes and policies with refer to health. Which among that, one of the most prestigious projects was of the Life Mission scheme, which has been introduced by the government of Kerala in the year 2016. We can see that historically the state of Kerala has been a front runner in always in social innovation, and the state has implemented various schemes, construction, and leading projects for providing houses to the homeless people in the state. And the Mission Life, which means that the livelihood inclusion and the financial empowerment, is a scheme which has been providing home for the landless and the homeless people living in the state, which has been launched in the year 2016 for providing a nearly 4.30 lakh houses within a period of 5 years. And one of the most important and the interesting fact is that the Life Mission scheme is not only just confined to providing housing alone, but also the financial empowerment, ensuring the livelihood means the social security schemes which is initiated in the housing complex also. And we can see that the Life Mission, which has been targeted to complete the scheme within the complete of 3 phases. And in within the first phases, the unfinished houses, which has been started construction before the past 10 years and has been unconstructed or not been finished because of many financial reasons, will be get constructed in the first phases. And also, and the second phases, the houses will be provided to the people who had their own land. And also in the third phases, which has been taking the construction of the flats and houses to the people or homeless people. And among that, the social and economic survey will be conducted by the government in order to identify the beneficiaries. And among them, the priorities will be given to the disputed people, differentially abled, transgenders, mentally challenged or paralyzed, and the individuals which has been suffering from the fatal diseases, which means that the most disadvantaged or the marginalized section of the society will be given the priority for that. And by linking the housing to the livelihood option, the government is addressing not only the provision of mere shelter, but also aims the empowerment of the marginalized section of the society throughout the generation of adequate economic opportunities also. And coming that as a result of nearly 3 lakh houses has been just constructed, and which has been giving of the 2 bedrooms, 1 kitchen, and also toilet. And the houses which has been constructed and the life mission is one which has been adequate adequate protection, which has been protection from cold, heat, damp, and also which is providing not only just what, which ensure that the houses provided to meet the need of the life. And we can see that many nations which has been adopted and included right to adequate housing in their constitution or in other laws. So the Constitution of India does not have a specific provisions as relating the right to adequate housing. Thus, there is a need for a central legislation that recognizing the right to adequate housing as a statutory right. Even as we pointed out that there is no express fundamental right, the India has not totally ignored the concern of the adequate housing. The central and the state government has been made several acts, policies, and schemes for the protection of the housing. And among such policies, the Life Mission introduced by the state of Kerala has a unique position. And even though it has been married with some political controversies, schemes Life Mission need to be given important and measured to implement such schemes at national level will go a long way in ensuring the right to adequate housing. And also along with that, the obligation of the local and the regional government to implement the right to housing within the clearly designated area of responsibility must be established in the legislation. And also along with the proper power and authority, there should be a strict monitoring in order to avoid unnecessary political controversies in it. And also the independent monitoring body should be mandated and properly restored to monitor the realization of this right. And we can see that the provision of the legal remedies for the violation of right to housing is a core component of the state obligation to ensure this right. And the access to justice for the right to adequate housing should be ensured by all appropriate means through courts, administrative tribunal, human rights institutions also. And along with that, the hearing and other procedures should be timely, accessibly, and procedurally feel enough to fully participation of the individual. So that's why concluding that the right to adequate housing, we can see that always interconnected and for the fully realization of the other human rights, which is the essential for leading a dignified human existence. And it's a high time to effective, sustainable national policy and effective implementation to achieve this right. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishnu.